Hey everyone, this is your host Nick Lensander. Today we have the pleasure of talking to Tyler Davis, now a tight end for the Green Bay Packers. I played with him in college. He has been one of the best teammates in my career. Such a great guy and brings a lot of great perspectives. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Teammates Podcast. We are now on episode 2. This is a Lenk Media original podcast. So my guest today, a very good friend of mine. We played football together in college, and he is still playing. His name is Tyler Davis. He's a tight end for the Green Bay Packers. Tyler, how you doing? Good to have you today.
Doing good, Nick. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Good to see you. Appreciate you coming on. I know everyone listening will gain a lot from hearing your experiences. And I know you are kind of what I think is the epitome of a great teammate. And, this podcast is called Teammates. So, it's couldn't be more fitting. So
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. So let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about a background about you, kind of where you grew up, how you got into sports, just kind of a little quick overview maybe.
Sure. So grew up in Belmore, New York, so South Shore, Long Island, probably 45 minutes south of the city, beachy type town. Love my hometown. Love getting back when I can. Way getting into sports kind of was just forced upon me, honestly. My parents signed me up for every sport known to man when I was a kid. And ever since I was 6 years old, I was in everything. So you name it, I was in it. Football, soccer, baseball, wrestling, lacrosse, basketball, basically any sport you could think of, I was playing. And it kind of gave me a good foundation to what I really wanted to pursue in the future. And coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, but football was my first love out of all the sports that I played growing up. So really fitting that I'm very lucky to be able to still be doing it now.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of like the formula, right, to figuring out what sport you actually fall in love with. You learn a lot of different things from a lot of different sports, and you take little bits from you. But then when you find the one that you really get attached to, then it's the sky's the limit. So high school football. How was that experience for you? You were mostly a quarterback. Were you a quarterback in high school?
I was a full-time quarterback, yeah.
Full-time?
All my years, yep. So, like, when I was younger, I kind of just floated around positions, typically, like what everybody does. You know what I mean? They kind of just put you everywhere. O-line, D-line. They just put you wherever they can find a spot for you. So kind of moved around a little bit, played like a little bit like receiver as a young kid and peewee and youth and all that good stuff. But once I got to middle school and high school, it was just full-time quarterback, just was fully invested in trying to become the best quarterback that I could become. So just gave everything I had for that.
Yeah, so, and we'll get into how this kind of affected you when you eventually, changed positions. What do you think were the favorite or your most important parts that you look back at from your high school experience, whether it be the quarterback position or just, high school football in general that, you still think, brought you to where you're at today?
Probably say just the lessons of hard work. I remember as an 8th grader, I wasn't named the starting quarterback. So that kind of set off a little fire inside of me. And this day the season ended, I went up to the high school and I said, how do I start right now? And the high school head coach said, you could come in and start lifting weights. So I gave up basically every sport that I played and kind of just threw it all away for the pursuit of becoming the best quarterback that I can be. Like I said before, I kind of grew up playing every sport, played 4 sports in middle school. There was like 4 semesters, I guess. I did football, wrestling, volleyball, and baseball my 7th grade year. And 8th grade year, I wasn't named the starter, like I said, at quarterback, and just really set off a fire inside of me, just that I never wanted that ever to happen ever again. So kind of just went up to the high school and was like, listen, like, what can I do? And he's like, you can start lifting. So I started lifting. And I'd probably say that moment was like, I'm gonna give everything that I possibly have to be the best player that I can be. So I think that is a lesson that has stuck with me to today. Yeah, I mean, kind of the foundation of how I'm wired and the way that I think of things and the way that I make sacrifices for certain things, just all in the grand scheme of becoming the best player that I can be. So I'd probably say that was a big deal for me, just not being named starter, and kind of just took off from there with my work ethic.
Yeah, and having that chip on your shoulder, earlier on, I see a similarity too. And when I started getting serious, was the lifting part of it. It really kind of changes your perspective on working, and it's a very tangible thing that you can control and to get better every day, and then you can it kind of molds your mindset to be there through adversity and when you're not feeling good and a lot of different things. So that's huge. That's awesome. So moving on from high school onto college football. So obviously there's a jump there. So UConn, tell us a little bit about your kind of transition to UConn, and we'll get into position transition in a little bit. But
Yes. So kind of just goes back to just the way that I am. I graduated high school early so I could come to UConn as a 17-year-old early enrollee, just because I wanted to be with the team. I wanted to be with the best athletes in the country. I mean, that's what it all was really about. Nothing against my area and my high school, but I was the first Division I player in 23 years. So I kind of want to be around Division I players all the time. You know what I mean? Because iron sharpens iron, and being around those guys makes you a better player, better person every single day. So the more that I could be around that, I thought it was the best thing that I could possibly do. So when I was a 17-year-old, didn't know anything, and kind of just hit the ground running and just tried to fit in the best that I could and try and compete with these sometimes redshirt seniors, 23-year-olds. I was 17, just trying to keep up with those guys. And that ended up paying dividends for me as I went along, because I set such a strong foundation for myself right out the gate that still I have to this day, of just same thing, work ethic, leadership, all that type deal. Really set a good foundation for me. So I'm really thankful that I did choose that route to graduate early, to set that strong foundation for myself.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when you came in. I think that was my second year there or something like that, or first spring or second spring. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype coming around. Who's this kid, Tyler Davis?
Right.
But I mean, and you started humble, right? You got to figure out the hand signals and everything. As a quarterback, we had some good guys in the quarterback room, so you had to work your way up. And so when he was at UConn, eventually they asked him to become a tight end. Now he has, he's a very athletic guy in general, and so the intangibles are there, and then he's has the quarterback mindset, and he's understood the game from where a quarterback is for throughout high school and even into college. So give us a little insight to how that transition happened. I know some quarterbacks are reluctant to transitioning to different position, even though they potentially could. Give us a little insight to that.
Sure. So I remember at the time we were going into camp. We were about to we actually just finished summer conditioning, and the head coach at the time, Bob Diaco, came up to me. He's like, Tyler, he's like, and we had a pretty solidified starting quarterback, Brian Sheriff. It was a good college quarterback. Took us to a bowl game the year before.
Yep.
Played pretty well for us, so we kind of knew that he was going to be the starter rolling into the season. So at the end of the summer conditioning, the head coach at the time, Bob Diaco, came up to me. He's like, Tyler, it's like, you can't be holding a clipboard on the sidelines this year. Like, you're a top 10 athlete on this team. He's like, we need you somewhere. And like you just said, I was pretty reluctant at first, Just I had worked so many years to become a Division I college quarterback. I had so many quarterback private trainings. I did all the quarterback showcases in high school. Tried to go out there. I'll throw to the fence at my high school. So I mean, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work and a lot of hours that you put into it. For someone to come up to you and tell you that they don't want you doing that anymore, I mean, it kind of hits hard and it's tough. And I think anybody making a position change like that, I think it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But I kind of went over. We had a little bit of break before camp. I think it might have been 3-4 weeks, and just thought about it really, and went back and forth with it. To be honest with you, it definitely was a tough call. But then I realized too, it's like some of these coaches have been coaching longer than I've been alive. Like they may know things that I might not know now, and they have a lot more perspective in the game than I do, and just be able to trust them and trust that they truly have your best interest in heart for the team and for yourself, obviously. And looking back on it now, they definitely did, because they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at first. They were able to see some, obviously athletic traits, personality traits, all that deal, but I didn't see it at the time. So very thankful that I did listen to Coach Diaco at the time, and just fully went into playing tight end once I started, and definitely wasn't good at first, and definitely took me a while to figure it out.
I mean,
definitely got like laid out a bunch of times. I remember one of the first days of camp when it was live, and I got hit by this outside linebacker, Romaine Stevens. You never, I still have the clip. An offensive player, me playing tight end, I made the tackle on the running back. I got blown so far into the backfield that I literally tripped up the running back. You know what I mean? So it wasn't easy at first, but I just worked as hard as I could, just like I do in anything in life, and thankful that it has paid off.
And yeah, I mean, there's a few great points in there. I mean, for you to take that leap of faith of switching positions after all the hard work you put into it, and not having an ego too big to cloud your vision of what coaches that have been around the game all their life are telling you, and being able to be okay with that work getting you to there, but then you had to pivot. I think that's huge, and I think a lot of people put in your same position wouldn't have done that, and I think that's one of the main reasons why you're at where you are today. I mean, that's a huge decision, and it takes a lot of guts, and it takes, mental toughness, and you've got to say, okay, what can we do from here? Control what you can control, and then learning the position. I mean, that was basically what I did too. I mean, I didn't know tight end at all. I'd never played it coming into from my first training camp, and you're just trying to soak up as much. You did have a decent foundation because you understood the game more from the quarterback's mentality. So you knew what guys were doing in general. So it gave you a good foundation of where guys are going to be and defenses and a lot of different things. But I mean, I definitely remember a bunch of times the first year to even the second year that I was playing where, you just get absolutely smacked by guys. I mean, Graham Stewart when,
for sure.
Yeah. And all those guys. Omain was a beast. We had a lot of good linebackers. Yeah. So, I mean, it's
Luke Carazola put me on my butt. Let me throw that out there.
He did that way too much to me also. Shout out Luke. He is now he's a GA at UConn. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. We'll get him on one of these episodes for sure. But yeah, so we had a ton of good linebackers. So, and we had a lot of good players going against each other, and made you learn quickly. Tyler was thrown in there, just kind of like I was thrown in there as well, and we both understand kind of you're learning on the fly and you're absorbing things, and you're but that experience, I'm sure fueled the rest of everything to come in the football realm for you. So a couple comparisons, position group camaraderie. What do you think about tight end position groups versus quarterback position groups. You've been in both of those. Do you see similarities, differences?
Oh no, I see some similarities for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, the beauty of the tight end position is that you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to
right,
be able to. You're a combination.
right,
You're a combination between the offensive line and the receivers. You know, I mean, receivers, sure, they block they'll block a little bit. You know what I mean, on some stock blocks and all that deal. But their main priority is catching the football. And the offensive line, they'll never catch a pass. Their only priority is blocking. So tight end has to have a good combination between them both. So I think being able to be a jack of all trades is very similar to,
yeah,
not at the same difficulty as a quarterback. Obviously, quarterback is the hardest position of all sports. I'm not
right,
trying to compare it to the level of difficulty, but for the amount of things that you need to do, it's pretty similar. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Quarterback needs to know everything, needs to know, you know what I mean? All about the defense, all about the offense, and similar to tight end. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Is that we're kind of taking in the same information. That's why I think a lot of tight ends eventually switch over to quarterback. I mean, I'm lucky here. Bobby Tonyan, who's been a really good tight end in the NFL for a couple years now, he was a college quarterback too. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's I mean, I could go on. There's a ton of old quarterbacks that are playing tight end. You know what I mean? I'm just lucky to be with him every day. And we always joke around. We throw our high school highlight tapes up there, and we debate who was a better
Who's the better
quarterback and all that.
quarterback?
But for sure, it's definitely similar, and it's why a lot of quarterbacks end up being tight ends. You know what I mean? In college and in the NFL.
Yep, totally. That's great, and to have a guy that experienced things similarly to you, in the way that you position transitioned, and now a great tight end. A lot of people know Robert Tonyan. You call him Bobby, but yeah, no. So that's awesome. So then your transition to Georgia Tech, you GA transferred as a graduate, or not GA transferred. As a graduate, you transferred for your 5th year, and
Right.
how did transferring? So tell us just like a little bit about that experience, maybe compared to UConn, and then how did that set you up for eventually, getting drafted?
Yeah, so definitely a different situation when I transferred. I picked a place that was going from a triple option style
Right.
of offense to modern day spread. So definitely a complete change. Also, to just a complete cultural change on
Yep.
what they were been and what they were going to. So definitely an interesting situation for me. And it was a big reason why I decided to go there, because I knew that it was going to be a transitional time, and I knew that I was going to be able to step up and be a leader. And that's really what I wanted to be. You know, I mean, obviously, I knew I wanted to play in the NFL. That was obviously something I've been dreaming about since I was 6 years old, since I started playing. But I really think what drew me to Georgia Tech was the fact that I'm gonna be able to go into this transitional time and really step up as a leader. And I'm proud to say that probably my proudest accomplishment was that I was named a team captain, only being there for one semester, voted on by the players. You know what I mean? And I will take that right now as my greatest sports accomplishment, because that's what I feel like I was put on this earth to do. Almost, I feel like um, I was built to lead. You know what I mean? I was built to push people to limits that they didn't know that they could reach themselves. I feel like I'm with that with players that I played with in college still, and I'm trying to always talk to them, always push them, always encourage them to be better. And so that was just a big learning experience for me. It taught me a lot about leading, honestly. Definitely, because you know what I mean. It was just I was in the spotlight. I was learned it. I was in it. I was doing it. You know what I mean. And definitely mistakes I made, but definitely learned from them, and definitely helped me as I progressed in my career in the last couple of years. Just going back and thinking about some of the moments where I could have handled situations differently with some guys, and some regrets that I have, and what I could have done for guys that maybe didn't end up making it on the team. Just wishing that I had done something a little extra for them to maybe keep them on and be able to finish a Georgia Tech. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many things just that it taught me, but it's definitely just very rewarding in the end to be able to look back on it, and very, very thankful that I chose that route.
So, 100%. That's a great perspective. And I'm going to put it up on, if you're watching on YouTube, there is an amazing video that kind of like, went viral a little bit of Tyler. You probably know what I'm going to say, but you at the podium after your last game, and he's showing his emotions, and how much it actually means to him, his entire college career and football in general leading up to it. And it all came out in a post-game press conference, and it was really, really powerful. So I will stop it here if you're watching on YouTube to put that clip up, because it's awesome.
I tell people this all the time. I wish I could play college football forever. There's just nothing quite like it. The alumni, the students, the bands, the fight songs. I just get emotional thinking about it, to be honest with you. There's nothing like college football. And I wouldn't trade my journey the last year for anything. I'm just truly thankful that I got to live out this dream here.
You saw that clip. You saw that clip kind of take off a little bit, right?
Yeah, it did, and it was just truly from the heart.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
it's awesome.
It's just, I think any college player of any sport realizes how special it is, and I think that's a big thing too. Is just living each day for what it's worth. You know what I mean? And that's what I did at Georgia Tech. I knew that the days were counting down, so I was like, let me make these things count. Let me enjoy every last minute of it. And so I feel like a lot of people just nowadays, just something happens and they look back and they go, oh, I wish I enjoyed this more. Yeah. I wish I hadn't thought of this. And it just takes your enjoyment out of what you're currently doing in the moment today. So just, I know it came out in that post-game press conference, but just everything just came all together. The 5.5 years that you put in, you realize that you're done and you're going to leave all your buddies and all that. Yeah. And everybody's going to go their separate ways. It's so it did come out, the tears came out on that one. And it was cool to be able to see that it reached a good following. So hopefully people took something out of it.
Yeah. And again, just, the gratitude for being able to do it for the 5 years. Not a lot of people get to be able to do that. And, you as a kid growing up playing football, all leading up to that. And, you never know what's going to happen after that. So, it's hard to make the league, much less stay in the league or get a tryout. So,
and at that time, I had no idea too. I wasn't sure what was going to happen up until draft day. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm sure we could get to that, but at that time I thought that possibly could have been my last game ever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and that's a tough, hard pill to swallow. And I'm with people all the time that go through that. I remember my fiance was her last softball game, and this was finishing my first year in the NFL, and just my heart broke for her, knowing that she wouldn't be able to continue playing a game that she loved. You know what I mean? And just me realizing how lucky and fortunate I still am to be playing a game.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And if you're playing a sport now, just appreciate the days more. It may seem hard in the moment, but you never know when it's going to end. And when that time comes, you're going to be really sad, especially if you put a lot of time and effort into it and you have a lot invested. Quickly before we transition, I'll just that moment for me was my last practice outside at UConn. It was the last practice ever. I didn't play as much as some of these guys, but I put in the effort and the time. And I remember that coach, Frank Verducci, the tight end coach, he had the guys carry me off the field. And that was kind of like the moment for me that I felt that emotion. Cause, for me, that was pretty much it. So that was kind of the moment for me. And it wasn't even the last game because, the games are fun and things like that. But, that was the last, you give so much effort to something. And And you know, that's the kind of, it's an internal reward that you feel for, and gratitude, and to be able to do it. So that, yeah, that's awesome. And I know that feeling for sure. So going into the NFL draft, that, you know, must have been an interesting experience. Clearly you said you didn't even really know much even leading up to the draft. You know, clearly you were still training. How did kind of the draft process go for you to then eventually becoming a 6th round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Sure. So after the year, kind of talked with a couple people, signed an agent, and he kind of was like, listen, you got to get going. You got to start training for the combine and pro day and all that deal. So went out to California, LA, and trained out there for 2 months and trained hard, trying to get into nowadays the bowl games are pretty big to get into, the Senior Bowls,
right.
East West Shrine,
right.
All those deals, and didn't get into one. And I thought I was, and I thought I did everything I could and had some good conversations with some of the people at those bowl games. It just didn't happen for me. So that was kind of one of the obstacles in the way that of adversity right when I was coming out. And then thought I was going to get an invite to the combine, and first wave went out, didn't get one. Second wave came out, still didn't get one. So kind of just the second wave of adversity, and it comes at you quick, you know what I mean? And this was real life stuff, you know what I mean? And this is the first time probably ever where this is like, you know what I mean, your career's on the line. And obviously those things it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a big deal. Be able to go to those things. So just kept my head down, kept training, and just kind of fueled me every day to prove these people wrong that I can do it, that I could play at a high level, and just kept to it, kept working hard up until the last day I trained in California, flew back out to Georgia to do my pro day at Georgia Tech, and kind of blew it out the water, you know what I mean? And teams were coming up to me right when I was done. You know, I mean, I had visits lined up within 10 minutes of my pro day being over. My agent said that you'd never even heard of anything like that before it happened. So
turn some heads.
Yeah. So I definitely proved myself that day and kind of raised some eyebrows and had some teams go back and watch some film on me. And I guess that some teams thought I could play, you know what I mean, after I performed the way that I did. So then I had a bunch of interviews and just did best that I could at them. I feel like that's something that I excel at. I'm good at
for sure
being myself first and foremost. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm a very personable person. So that first and foremost, but then also too, just being able to show my football IQ, which I feel like is at a very high level too. And it goes back to me playing quarterback. Sure. It definitely gave me a good foundation, but being able to draw up every defense and every look that we can possibly have on offense and drawing the whole concept, how everybody fits in, definitely separated myself after being drafted and talking to these scouts and coaches and be like, what really set me apart? And I remember someone sent me an article from my tight ends coach at the time, Jacksonville, saying that I had the best interview that he had ever had.
Wow.
And it just goes back to, you know what I mean, just being who I am and just showing them that I know the game pretty well and pretty adaptable to all that. So had some good interviews, and the draft came, and I mean, draft day is crazy.
I'm sure.
There's a million things that could happen, and so much that's out of your control that you try not even to worry about it. But I mean, it's stressful.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I mean, I think anybody that's on the verge of that, of being drafted, undrafted, there's gonna be stress, and there for sure was. And thought I was going a couple different places, didn't end up, and just was happy when I got a phone call from Jacksonville area code. I answered it, and one of the best days of my life, you know what I mean? So truly a dream come true when it happened. So it was awesome.
Hello?
Tyler there.
Yes, sir.
Tyler, Dave Caldwell, General Manager of Jacksonville Jaguars. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I am not too bad. What do you think about coming and playing some tight end for us?
I love that. That was
Yeah.
a dream come true.
Well, you're gonna get drafted, man. You
Thank you so much.
no problem.
Oh my God! I loved you guys the whole time when I was talking to Jason when he came to
Oh yeah.
Pro Day,
Well,
and I know you came to the NC State game.
yep.
Hey,
I saw you at the NC State game, and I feel like I was like, why are they not getting this guy the ball more? The guy runs a 4.65. He's big. He's strong.
Yeah.
And guess what? Both our head coach and myself are from New York too. So.
I love that, man. I can't.
Now this is the only question: are you a Yankee or Mets fan?
I'm a Mets fan.
Oh. Well, we might not be able to do this now.
No, come on. I'll change that right now.
All right, you're a Yankee fan now. All right, man. Well, I'm pumped. I've been eyeing you here, and we've been going back and forth, and you just come in and work your ass off, play some special teams. And,
no doubt. No doubt.
We want you growing to be a badass blocker too. I know you got it in you. Okay.
No doubt. That's
All
what
right.
I am, man. That's exactly what I am. I can't wait.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna make this pick. Congrats, and enjoy today. My assistant will be reaching out to you. Okay.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much.
All right, bud.
All right, go Jags, baby.
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome. The position to be able to position yourself through pro day and those interviews, even when you may not be the most highly touted NFL prospects or whatever it may be. Clearly, that helped your draft prospects, and that was the greatest draft interview that he'd ever seen. That's huge. So everyone can help themselves with just being themselves and studying and the things that they can control, because you're never going to control the boards of where you're ranked or anything like that. So tell us a little bit about then your rookie year, going into your second year, just your time in Jacksonville, transitioning to the NFL. How was that learning curve for you? How was that first couple of years?
Yeah, it was tough at first, and our draft class entered the NFL for the COVID year, so a lot of stuff was canceled, and we really didn't have a lot of practices before actual camp. So it was tough being able to go in and being able to perform off very little experience before it actually was the real deal. You know what I mean? I didn't have any preseason games, just went right into the season, which is tough as a rookie because you realize how different the game is. And obviously it's the same football, but just things happen a lot faster. Windows close a lot faster. Everybody's a lot stronger. Everyone's a lot quicker. Definitely wish that I had that as a rookie. Just the extra OTA practices, being able to get with the coaches in person and go through the playbooks. I didn't have any of that as a rookie.
That's tough.
Because of COVID. And so that was definitely tough. And definitely there was a few moments my rookie year, there were kind of like wake up moments. Like I remember the first time, one of my first games playing, I put my hand in the dirt and JJ Watt was standing right across from me. You know what I mean? And kind of a surreal moment at the same time. The fact that I've been watching him for years. Obviously he's a staple of the NFL for a very long time, but then knowing that you're playing one of the best, you know what I mean? And so definitely some eye-opening experiences right off the bat, but with some games getting under my belt, kind of started to pick some things up. Some tricks of the trade and just some small things here and there that can help out a lot. So definitely getting thrown into the fire. Didn't feel the best at first, but definitely has paid dividends to where I'm at now for sure.
Yeah. And, obviously he's, with the Packers now. So going from Jacksonville, your last training camp there was, I guess highly publicized, because Tim Tebow was in your position group. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask how was Tim with you guys?
Well, first off, a little side note on that. So the reason that I wanted to be a quarterback and all that was because I grew up watching the national championships and the Florida Gators during those late 2000s. And
Legendary.
I wanted to be exactly like them. And so I grew up a Florida Gators fan from New York because I wanted to be exactly like Tim Tebow. And I remember kind of similar type deal in high school with me when I was getting recruited. People said I couldn't throw. I was just a runner. And I thought, Tim did it. Tim was a first-round pick. And Tim was, you know what I mean? He was successful in the NFL, his first stint. You know what I mean? Won a playoff game. And, so he was successful. Tim could do it. Why can't I do it? So I grew up the biggest Tim Tebow fan there was. You know what I mean? Like I said, wanted to be exactly like him. So then it turns out, you know what I mean? Circle of life. You know what I mean? And he's sitting next to me in my meeting room, directly next to me in my meeting room, and just always asking me questions. And it's crazy. It's like, I wish I could ask this guy a million questions. You know what I mean? He's asking me questions. So it's definitely a cool experience to be able to be around one of your childhood idols and someone that I wanted to be like, and just being able to pick his brain on how he thought of different things. You know what I mean? Obviously we know him as one of the hardest workers out there too.
Right.
And definitely saw it firsthand. And I think the biggest thing with him was just, he's just a good person. I think everybody knows that, you know what I mean? All this stuff that he does with his foundation and how much he gives back. I got to see that firsthand. I remember during camp, we'd one day off, you know what I mean? One day off a week. And I asked him what he did with his one day off. He said, oh, I flew to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Nebraska. I go, no. I'm talking about yesterday. What did you do? He said, flew to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Nebraska. I go, what? Doing what? He's like, my foundation, this and that. I'm like, how do you have any time for this? You know what I mean? Like most football players on a day off during camp, especially, stay in bed almost the entire day. You know what I mean? Because we're working 14, 16-hour days for the previous 6 days. And this guy's flying throughout the U.S. But he told me, I go, doesn't it make you tired this night? He's like, no, it gives me life. It gives him energy. It gives him motivation to be able to do what he does with his foundation. And so that definitely opened up my eyes to the type of person that he is. You know what I mean? He's truly a unique, special human being to be around, and just so thankful that I was able to spend some time with him, obviously as an idol, but I learned so much from him, just mainly as a man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
100%.
Football too, but more importantly as a man, just learned a lot from him. And he was very generous, and his whole time just always trying to push me to be the best. And it was awesome to be around him. It was a dream come true to be around him.
Yeah, that's a special time. And, you know, from the outside looking in, you know, you kind of just see him hop into an NFL training camp for a bit, you know, and then obviously he didn't end up making the final roster. But, I mean, everything that goes behind that and the type of person that he is and the effects that he has on people. I mean, clearly he's a very, very special human being, and he's succeeded to the infinite level at anything that he's done. National championships, you know, being the starting quarterback, face of a franchise, changing so many people's lives on and off the field, being just a good person. I mean, that is infectious. And, you know, what you said that he said, that it gives him life, you know. I mean that's incredible. And, you know, a lot of people, if you're listening or watching this, you know, you can take that away. Like, you know, a lot of people have things a lot more difficult. So when we're complaining about, you know, things that are, you know, we're tired or something like that, let's, you know, remember back to your purpose and your mission and your drive. Because, I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. What an experience that is. And then you kind of had a little, you know, change in scenery. So you ended up getting cut as well, along with him. And then you kind of hopped around a little bit, right? How was that experience like?
It was tough. And obviously that's just the nature of the business. That's
right.
That's the NFL for you. Talk to so many guys that have been on so many different teams. That's just how it works. The NFL is a tough game. You know what I mean? And I mean, when you look at the numbers, there's only 53 that they keep.
Right.
And that's very few amount for the good amount of football players that are in the world. I mean, however many that is, 1,800 players for 32 teams.
Yeah.
Very small amount numbers. So got cut in Jacksonville, and then found my way to the Colts for 2 weeks, and got very lucky that a lot of things worked out for me, and got called up to Green Bay to the regular roster. So just really fortunate how things worked out. Definitely changed my career, my life. Definitely was very beneficial, and definitely just helped my career.
So what year are you going into now in Green Bay? Is this 2 or is this?
This is going into my second year in Green Bay.
Going into your second.
Going into my third year in the NFL.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody listening to this, watched, the Packers last year. Tyler worked his way into, significant playing time on both special teams. I think you were one of the leading special teams, in terms of snaps, one of the guys on the team. And then at least further into the season, you started playing a decent amount at tight end. How was that experience going into Green Bay? Obviously, there's a lot of different guys there, like that a lot of people know. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae was there, and then you have Tanyan, in the tight end group. Obviously, he ended up getting injured that year, but that must have been a whole different experience.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a learning experience to say the least. Just being able to come in and just hit the ground running. Just play ball.
Right.
It was kind of cool for me because I was doing things that I had never done before, and kind of doing pretty well at them. Like special teams. Like I got here, and the NFL is really hard. Like I just said, with all the numbers and all that. But then when you get on a team, gaining the trust of the coaches is almost just as hard as making the team.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because so much is on the line daily.
Yep.
For everybody involved. So being able to gain their trust takes a long time. So when you first get there, you're not going to have a big role on offense.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to have to play special teams. You're going to have to show that you can handle a lower workload, and then maybe you start doing well in special teams, and then you could kind of gradually maybe get a couple of plays here and there on offense, and then you take off from there. But just came in to Green Bay and just, like I said, hit the ground running, played special teams, played pretty well to start the year. Had a couple tackles in consecutive games, had 3 straight tackles on kickoff.
Yep.
I'd never played kickoff before in my life. And
ironic.
3 straight tackles. And my team psychologist, who's great, Dr. Carr, gave me a great quote for doing that. And it was just that I went into kickoff never playing it ever in my life. I had no expectations for myself. So when you have no expectations, you have no limitations. A lot of times we set limits on ourselves, and they're too low of limits that we're never able to actually reach our fullest potential. So going into that, like I said, didn't put any expectations on myself to be worth a crap on kickoff. Here I am, I didn't never tackle a single person in my life, and kind of put no expectations, no pressure on myself, just cut it loose, went out there. I'm a big guy running fast, and just let that work itself out. So started doing well in that, and that kind of sprung me into probably a hotter name in the building, and maybe let's get this guy a shot on offense. And then kind of just took advantage of my opportunities on offense, and then towards the end of the year started playing a little bit more. 15, 20 snaps a game on offense. So
that was
with special. So
that was it kind of is weird to with the whole journey leading up to that, and then you end up doing something that you've never done before, right? And that is what spurs you actually getting your chance and everything to show what you got. And that's special. And that quote is awesome. I mean, if you're looking at his background right now, obviously he caught a couple passes, one against the Ravens. I'll throw it up on the screen too. He had some solid plays this year, both blocking and caught the ball. For your first season being there, and going, mid-season essentially, learning everything on the fly, and then taking things from kickoff to the being on offense. That's pretty solid, I would say.
I appreciate it. Put a lot of let's just say there was a lot of sleepless nights when I first got here, just trying to be able to learn as much as I can in a very short period of time. We started this season. We started April 18th. You learn the playbook in April, May, June, July, August, 5 months, and then you play in September. I got there on a Wednesday and played that Sunday.
Yeah.
Where we have 5 months to learn the playbook right now. I did that all in 5 days.
Oh, God.
And like I said, there's a lot of trust. I don't know if people can see my screen, but that guy all the way to the right, number 12, he requires a lot of trust in you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he's not going to do anything unless he trusts you. He'll tell the coaches, get him out.
Yeah.
If he can't trust us. So just try to do everything that I could to gain his trust, and just do everything that I can to pick it up as fast as possible.
Yeah. So for everyone listening at different levels, how is that transition from high school, college to NFL playbooks? Obviously complexity. You were thrown into a situation where you had to learn it, immediately. Was some of the terminology the same between NFL teams? Was it, completely different? Obviously it's going to depend on the franchise and the coaching staff.
I think what I did in Jacksonville my rookie year was somewhat similar to what I did in Green Bay, but when I went to Indy, it was completely opposite. So it's kind of just luck of the draw, who's ever a disciple of, the certain offenses and who branches off the certain trees of the head guys.
Right.
Kind of determines the system and whatnot. So I got pretty lucky there. So like I said, doing it in 5 days, sure, but there was some things that were similar to things that I had heard before, similar type schemes, just possibly in another word, it's just, you're translating, this means this, but it really meant that in the old offense. So just being able to translate some certain schemes and route concepts was my biggest deal, because I had the knowledge of the concepts. It was just translating the words. But I feel like definitely just complexity just always is going to increase when you go from high school to college to the NFL, and it's just the nature of the beast. It's just the defenses do so much as you grow and you go up in levels. So you got to be able to have certain things on offense to be able to shut that down. So like in the NFL, we go up to the ball with 3 plays. Where in college it's
2 maybe.
Yeah, and in high school, you're calling what the offensive coordinator calls in high school, and you're running it. You get to the NFL, you call a play, and Aaron can call whatever play he wants at the line. He can completely change it to something that you're not expecting at all. So I just think it just goes up in complexity, but nothing that someone can't handle if they're willing to put the work in for it.
Yeah, and obviously with what you've seen, you have to be able to, stay on your toes and not get locked in whatever you're doing. You've got to be fluid in the situation. You've got to adjust, just as quickly as a defense adjusts, and you've got to be able to see things in real time and process things very quickly. There's a lot that goes into all of that, especially in, one of the, most talented throwers of all time's offense. He understands the game really well. Has that been able to rub off on you a little bit in terms of offense and how to play?
Oh, definitely. Being around him has definitely opened up my eyes. The background that I have right now, it was like a 20-yard seam.
Yep.
And just being able to talk to him about that play, he saw so many things before the play even started. Like he can play chess, but he can be 4 steps ahead, where other people are at the current move. He's already 4 steps ahead of you. So I remember I was talking to him about this play, and he literally said he saw someone give a hand signal about them having a certain zone. So that meant that the play that we were affecting was going to, be affected by the concept that we were running. You know what I mean? So he got information off somebody else on a different guy, you know what I mean, to tell him where to go with the football. And he just said he knew that it was that right off a hand signal by a defensive guy. So just being able to be around that, and that's just one example, but he does that every play.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
that's special.
I'm definitely not at his level, not even close, but definitely watching him every day is just truly special. You know what I mean? You could see it's like, to me, it almost looks like he's playing a video game out there. You know what I mean? Like he knows all the moves, he knows all the defenses, he knows. Sometimes in my mind, I feel like he can magically move people.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that he does that. But no, just a very special talent to be around.
Yeah, and I'm sure you appreciate it because, you know, you were a quarterback, and so just being able to see it played at, you know, the highest level is, I'm sure, special, and learning all the different things that he's seeing, and definitely, I'm sure, helps you and what you see on the field. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's awesome. So clearly your NFL experience has been, you know, special thus far, and now we're going into, this is, I guess, you're still under contract in Green Bay, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we got another, hopefully, season coming up. I'm guessing you guys are in like OTAs, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we're looking forward to it. It's what, April, late April, so we still got, you know, months away from the actual season. But I remember I went to a game last year that was super fun, but it was very, very cold. You guys in Green Bay, if anybody's ever been to Green Bay, it is as cold as it gets, basically.
Freezing.
And these guys are, you know, out there, no sleeves. And I remember we played in some cold weather at UConn. You know, it's not quite as cold as Green Bay. Green Bay definitely takes a cake there, but you know,
zero.
Exactly. I like to you know, think of it. It's mental toughness. You know, everyone says they're cold, and I'm like, you know, being cold is a mentality.
No doubt. No, it's took a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, you'll be all right.
Yeah, and it's if anybody's never, you know, gone to Green Bay, it's a football town, you know, through and through. Really, really cool. Tons of amazing fans, and you know, it's one of the most storied franchises, obviously, for many different reasons. So, you know, definitely special. So, transitioning to the next segment, where are you now? So, tell us, what do you think the toughest part of the journey to where you're at now, being successful at the highest level in the NFL, from, you know, working at football as a kid? What do you think that toughest part was for you?
I think the toughest part probably is just getting up and doing it. Like I said, I wasn't a tight end coming out of high school. In college, I wasn't tight end. I just kind of, when I transitioned, just went out and fully invested into it, and kind of goes into what I was saying before, but I didn't know the potential that I had in myself. So just fully diving into what other people thought, just trust people. I think that's sometimes tough, to be able to trust someone else's opinion that you don't believe yourself. I think that's a tough part. And I think tough part too is, and this in the NFL and college, the tough part's every day.
Yeah.
And the tough part is that you have to bring your best every single day, because one day that you don't, you will get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because these guys are so good that you can't afford to have a bad day. You can't. So I think that definitely brings a challenge in itself, knowing that every day you have to be the best. You have to demand it out of yourself every single day. You know what I mean? When you wake up, you got to just demand it out of yourself that you're going to be the best possible human being for that day and whatever you're doing. And like I said, it doesn't have to be just football. Just, you know what I mean? Be the best doctor that you can be the best lawyer you can be the best student that you can be. I think that's just in general in life. And once you start stacking those days, you know what I mean, you find something special in the end. You know what I mean? So I'd probably say that's maybe one of the hardest things is just being able to do it every single day. You know what I mean? It's there's a saying in the NFL too. It's not about what you did for me yesterday. It's about what are you going to do for me today? Yeah, I mean, nobody cares what you did yesterday. It's a new day today. What do you do for me today? And so I'd probably say that's the toughest part.
And ain't that true for, real life as well? No one cares about, what success story you had before. What are you going to do next? Like what's up next? It's like, Tiger Woods, one of, if not the greatest golfer of all time, I would think always, the most important shot is the next one. And in football, there's so many plays and so many mistakes that everybody makes on a daily basis and a play-by-play basis. You have to just immediately take what you did and take the feedback and then move on and try to get better. And just like every day, but every play. So in real time. So, football definitely personifies that. So yeah, perseverance. I mean, getting through adversity, following the path, even though it's not very clear where you're going, with the position change and everything, just trusting in the process and what you're doing, for a bigger purpose. And, whether it's, you continuing to play like, up to this, you could have never foreseen, this path, a long time ago. So, trusting that is huge. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough for everybody. So if, you're listening to that, take that away. That's I mean, you never know. So just keep at it. And, you are definitely one of the best teammates I've ever been around, and it's clear in every locker room that has had an effect on your play and your camaraderie with guys, you having relationships with the team, even you making the NFL with your being a good teammate and knowing things and talking to people. So what does being a good teammate mean to you now that this is the Teammates podcast?
I think being a good teammate is just always being there for somebody. And I think that goes for football. It goes for life, just being there for somebody. You never know what somebody's going through until you form a relationship with them, and they'll be willing to talk about certain things that you would have never had known about beforehand. I think just being able to go to the extra mile for certain people. I remember when I was at Georgia Tech, I wasn't really the guy that went out, but I told people, because I'm more of a homebody myself, but I told people, I said, if you're going out, you need a ride, call me. I don't care what time of night it is, just please call. You know what I mean? I was always just like that. I always wanted to go the extra mile for people, just my teammates, just knowing that I would do anything for them. And it's kind of chilling to me. Just recently, Georgia Tech has some pretty good prospects coming out, and just this past week getting 2 calls from them out of the blue, just asking for advice. And I mean, I haven't talked to these guys in 2-3 years. Yeah. And the fact that they took it for themselves to reach out to me, and I mean, I talked to those guys for 30 minutes each, and just I think that's what being a great teammate is, just being there for them all the time whenever they need it. And I think the biggest thing, and you alluded to it, is just relationships. You got to build those relationships. Those are the biggest things. And I feel like that's the more successful teams too. You know what I mean? When when you look to a guy to your left, your right, and you want to do everything humanly possible not to let them down. You know what I mean? That brings out the best in you. You know what I mean? You have something more to play for. You have something, and that goes for life too, obviously. You know what I mean? When you're married, when you have kids, you know what I mean? Everyone says the life changes because you have more to live for. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing as being a great teammate. You know what I mean? Being there for someone all the time. I think that's the best thing that a good teammate can do.
Special. Yeah. And football is the ultimate team sport. You are, nothing can run unless everybody's on the same page and everyone's doing their job. And I mean, that's special. And creating those relationships, obviously going the extra mile for guys, having, empathy for other guys' situations and not putting yourself, first and, putting the team first. I mean, that's awesome. And that's, how everyone should live, life and sports and everything. And that's how great teams are formed. And that's how, it's a winning mentality as well. That's how, the special teams are formed. All right. So transitioning to the last segment. So we're going to do a Q&A. We'll go down the list a little bit. So, this might be football, but favorite sport and why?
I think it would be football. Easy answer for me. Not that I do have other interests, other sports, but football is definitely my favorite one, just for some of the reasons you just talked about. It's the best team sport in the world. You need 11 guys to perform on every play. And if one guy messes up, the play is poor. The play is messed up. If one guy messes up, if 10 guys did their best job ever in football and one guy messed it up, it's an unsuccessful play. So I think that's probably why I think it's the greatest sport in the world, and why I love it so much is just the team aspect of it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I agree. Football, obviously mine as well. So favorite player growing up that made you want to play? I know we talked about Tim Tebow a little bit earlier.
Sure. Tebow is a big one. I'd probably say NFL-wise, I'd probably say Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Just obviously a great quarterback, and was a prototypical guy, you know what I mean? Not a crazy athlete, but very successful, and just with his mind and all that stuff. So I wanted to be exactly like Peyton.
Yeah, and you played quarterback too. Yeah.
Yep.
And my buddy Nolan on the last episode said Peyton as well. Obviously, he transformed the game, and a lot of things at the line that Aaron, I'm sure Aaron does now too. Peyton kind of spearheaded a lot of the play adjustments and all that kind of stuff at the line. Ahead of his time. I mean, Aaron's been around for a long time too now, though, so obviously he's made it his own. Best stadium you've played in?
Best stadium
or favorite?
I'll have to go with the hometown team, Lambeau Field.
There it is.
You saw it. It's a special place, man. It's oftentimes I get the chills just at games when I get to take a break and get to look up at the crowd and see the fireworks, and it's just euphoric. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like you're in a movie sometimes.
Exactly. Movie. That's a good way to put it.
And I remember watching games at Lambeau Field when I was a kid on TV. You know what I mean? A bunch of big games, and just kind of always gravitated towards that stadium. You know what I mean? Most historic franchise in the NFL, you know what I mean? And how historic it is. And there's this thing in the tunnel, the bricks are a big deal. Tradition is a big deal with the Packers, and you walk across those bricks and think about all the old players that walked across those, you know what I mean? The Brett Favres, the Bart Starrs, the Donald Drivers, the Greg Jennings, the Charles Woodsons, the Aaron Rodgers, you know what I mean? The list goes on and on. So I think that's a big reason why I love it, just the tradition and the history behind it.
Yeah, it's special, and it's I think of it like the mecca of football. It's one of those like places you gotta see if you love football. You gotta go, you gotta experience it. It's next level, and being able to play on the field and really soak it in every time you're there and appreciate that. That's that's awesome, and I loved going to a game last year, and I will definitely try to make it out to another game this year. It is a special place. So next, best teammate in the NFL. So we'll say one of your favorite teammates in the NFL.
That is one.
There's a lot. So we won't leave guys out.
I will say this: I haven't been with one bad teammate in the NFL. Every single person I've been around is a great person. I think that is first. And to give an answer to that question, I mean, it's tough. I've been around so many good players, so much good people. I think something that stood out for me was last season, just being around Mercedes Lewis and him being in his 17th season as a tight end, which is unheard of.
That's unheard
of. Being able to see him and just the NFL is there's definitely a pecking order and a hierarchy, and definitely there's a lot of older guys that kind of just go about their business, and that's fine. But he kind of breaks that stereotype, and he's always there for the young guys. Always. He might not be practicing, but he's always watching to try and help us out. And there's nothing that beats experience. You know what I mean? He has 17 years of it, where a lot of we 3 second-year tight ends last year, me and 2 others. So just being able to hear his knowledge and his thoughts on the way he thought about certain things was definitely very beneficial for me. And it meant a lot to me knowing that a lot of older guys in the NFL don't do that and aren't willing to go the extra mile for younger players at the time. So definitely he's one of 100 that I've had, but definitely just thinking back to last year, he's definitely a special one to me.
So 17 years in the league at tight end, much less any position, but the tight end position, definitely unheard of. You know, being there for guys, and obviously he's seen a thing or two in 17 years. He's seen every defense. He's seen pretty much anybody that's played in the last 2 decades. So, I mean, that's pretty special to just soak in that experience, and that he's willing to help and you know, help progress everyone's knowledge together as a team and you guys personally, and, you know, being a good person. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And I'm sure you have a lot of great teammates, and it's, I mean, that's hard to pick one. Favorite TV show? You watch TV at all? Movies?
I'm not a big TV guy, to be honest with you. Never been, but I'd probably say, oh man, what would I say from us? Probably Yellowstone. I'd probably say
Yellowstone. Okay.
Probably my favorite. Yeah.
All right.
I was late to the party there and kind of watched the first. What are they on now? Season 4 or
something like that?
5?
Something like that.
Or whatever it is. I watched like 3 seasons in like 2 weeks last year. Like I was hooked on it, and I've never been hooked on a TV show before. So that one definitely is my favorite. Can't wait for more episodes to come out.
Yeah. I'm not usually a big TV guy too. There's like just a couple series here and there that get me too. I love movies, and I love appreciating like good movies and such. And you know, obviously, you know, you've got a lot going on, but I'm sure it's good to wind down a little bit every here and there. You know.
Yeah. No. Definitely has its moments where you need to calm down and come back down and relax. So definitely hoping more episodes come out soon.
Yeah. Well, another exciting thing, you just got engaged. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So, I mean, were you pretty nervous for that? How was that experience? I mean, I haven't gone through that myself. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about that. That's awesome.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time. I don't know if I was. It's a process now. I know it's. It is a hard thing to plan. Just the amount of things that you need to coordinate. You know what I mean? A place to do it. The camera person. With the knowing that it needs to be a surprise at the same time. You know what I mean? That makes it so much harder. You know what I mean? Because at least, like, I know a lot goes into wedding planning, party planning, but, you know what I mean? Most of the time people know it's happening. Yeah. You know what I mean? So being able to have that surprise factor is definitely adds a level of difficulty to it. But it was exciting. It was awesome. It all went to plan. I don't know if I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was nervous that she was going to find out. You know, the surprise would be ruined. She's really smart. Yeah. And she knows all my tricks by now, 3 years later.
Yeah, right.
Met her on my first day at Georgia Tech. And very lucky to be able to call her my wife coming up here soon. So just was a really special moment to be able to experience with her. And was very fortunate that everything went well and she didn't catch me in my tracks.
Yeah, good job. That's impressive, honestly. Where'd you do it at?
It was Atlanta. It was it's some rooftop in Atlanta. So, and in the pictures and whatnot, we had a lot of stuff that was sentimental to us. Like I'm taking a knee and proposing. There's a Ferris wheel in the middle. That was one of our first dates.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's Georgia Tech to the left that we got in some other pictures. There's a couple other buildings that had some sentimental value to us. So being able to do that there was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Saying that we met there in Atlanta, and that's kind of where we first found our love for each other. So being able to finish it there was definitely special.
Yeah, that's definitely special. And obviously that she's been on the ride with you the last few years, from college to, all the different places in the NFL to Green Bay.
Absolutely. She's a special one.
That's awesome. I'll throw those a couple engaging photos on the screen for you watching on YouTube. That's they're beautiful. And obviously, wedding coming up. You guys already figuring all that stuff out. I'm sure there's a lot to figure out.
Oh yeah, we're in the midst of planning all that stuff.
Takes time.
Like I said, I just get done with all the engagement stuff, and feel like I could take a break for a second, and
Exactly.
never end. All exciting things, so I'm all for it.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, congrats again to you guys. So
Appreciate it.
this is the last real question. So what's next for TD after football? You're going to want to keep playing as long as you can, and as long as, God willing, you're able to. What else do you want to get into?
I think about it all the time. It's just, I feel like going back to a couple of points that I had earlier, it's just leading. I would love to start my own company.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth with what industries I would want to go into and all that deal. But I just would love to have my own company where I could lead people to be greater than they think they can do. Push people to the limit. And, hopefully that would make a pretty successful business if I could push people to limits that they didn't think they could reach. I feel like it'd be pretty special to be able to do that. So definitely in the hopes and dreams for the future of owning my own company one day, and just constantly thinking about what I can possibly do in that space. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, work in progress. So we'll keep you guys updated on his ventures. But hopefully he's got a long career ahead of him in the NFL. Looking forward to, another great year this year. So we're gonna kind of recap and thank Tyler for being here on the podcast. This was an awesome hour 10 minutes, and I'm sure everyone listening and watching, got a lot out of it. You have a unique story and unique experiences, and clearly, are a great guy, and you're a great friend to me. So I appreciate you hopping on and giving us all that.
Appreciate you big time. No, this was a great time, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you everyone for listening to episode 2 with Tyler. He was awesome to have on. Brought a lot of good perspectives, and I hope you all got something from that, because I know I did. And he's just an awesome guy. And so this episode and every episode coming up are now going to release on Mondays. So when you're watching this, it will be Monday. And the next episode, we have another awesome person, and just a really good friend and good guy. Played at UConn as well. His name is Tim Boyle, now member of the Detroit Lions, a quarterback. And he is going to be our next guest. So we're looking forward to that episode in 2 weeks. If you guys want to get in touch, our email is teammates@lenk.media. That is teammates@lenk.media, Lenk, for questions. And we want to hear your feedback. Appreciate you all for listening to the end, and YouTube for you guys watching. Thank you again to Tyler, and looking forward to having him on again at some point in the future. Thank you everybody for listening and tuning in to this episode. We'll see you in the next one. YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The episodes will be coming out every 2 weeks. Hit that thumbs up button, and it really helps us grow the podcast. Thank you.